As she mentioned, I am Jennifer Chandler, the president for Bank of America for Dallas. And in that role, I focus on three key areas. That's our clients, of course, our colleagues, and our communities. So today's conversation really overlays all three of those areas. I also share that because I am by no means the expert when it comes to some of these topics. We have a robust team at Bank of America that focuses on ESG, and our CEO, Brian Moynihan, as you know, is also an expert. So when we get to the Q&A, please keep that in mind. But again, we focus on those three areas, and as we start the conversation today, I'm going to go back to some of the basics, because I think that's where the strength of what we're doing has all started from. That is ESG, and this group knows it clearly, but I have to say it's something that has been near and dear to Bank of America's core values for many, many years. I've been there for about 20, and it's been a focus as long as I can remember. And some firms are just coming up to speed. But it is truly the framework that we embed everything we do around. Our responsible growth strategy is focused on that and our commitment across the globe. It drives the decisions we make as a business. It informs where we go for our support for the foundation. And as we look at risk in our credit book, all of those things are based on ESG. It's the framework of all that we do. So again, fundamental, but it's important to understand that it's been a long time focus for us. We have also seen a number of firms essentially copying what we're doing, and folks ask me about that. We see that as a great thing. It is not only imitation as a form of flattery, but what we're looking at is raising the bar. You're going to see throughout today's conversation that we're doing things and we're challenging those around us to step up and do the same. So some of our essential environmental sustainability commitments are here. There are a lot of words on this slide because there are a lot of numbers I'm going to cover today. The first bullet talks about our strategy, and I just mentioned it with ESG. Our strategy at every level of the business is focused on ESG. It's our global business strategy. It's our focus on our employees. And we have over 213,000 colleagues across the globe. So if you think about that commitment, how we're driving behavior, we're operationalizing several improvements, it's a big impact. The second bullet talks a bit about the dollars. And again, I'm going to mention a few numbers here. The first one I'll mention is our $1 trillion, not billion, $1 trillion commitment. We have made that commitment and we're coming through. That's from now until 2030. You'll see a lot of detail within today's conversation. I'm happy to answer additional questions on where those dollars are going. But I can tell you firsthand, we're localizing a lot of those dollars. We're also measuring the work that we're doing. The other great thing is that we are completely in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You're going to see that throughout as well. And hopefully you've all seen Brian Moynihan out front and center over these last few days and for several years, and his alignment with several global leaders on that front. The third year is that we've made the third bullet is around our multi-year commitments. I point this one out in particular because what we're doing is we're measuring what we're doing and we're staying ahead of the curve. We're meeting our commitments well in advance of the goals we've set. We're also using our intellectual capital. It's not only the dollars that we're providing, but if you think about the intellectual capital we have and it's robust, we're putting it to work each and every day as well. In fact, we have more patents than NASA, and that's growing. And I'm proud to say many of those leaders are right here in North Texas. So we're putting that innovation to work. We have a forum where they can bring ideas to us each and every day, and we're putting many of them into action. So that's high level. I'll step back a bit and talk about our global commitment. We've recently received an award on that front for greenhouse gas management, but that's one of many awards, and I think you have all seen that. And I'll go back to my prior statement. Those awards are great recognition, but what we see is an opportunity for other corporations, other industries to see that and to follow in our footsteps. We've also been purchasing 100% renewable electricity. We've been integrating LEED into our facilities. We've got solar panels, and we're watching our water consumption and all of that as well. In fact, you're going to continue to see solar panels on top of our banking centers all across the country. We have also issued over $9.85 billion in 8 corporate green bonds, and you're going to continue to see that work. Another example, we were one of the first to step up with this type of program, and many are following suit. We have also been a top investor. If you look at in fact, the renewable wind and solar across the U.S., we have been part of 17% of that. So again, a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you today, but they're examples of how we're taking this responsibility and taking action, and again, measuring that work. The next slide may be hard for you to read, but I wanted to point this one out in particular because it goes back to the numbers. A moment ago, I mentioned $1 trillion, which is a huge commitment for us. I'd like to remind everybody that that is on top of a $200 billion commitment that we have already made and come through on, and we'll continue to invest those dollars. And again, all aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Goals. But I know we're all here today to talk about Texas. So I am born and raised here. I have 4 children, and I would like to leave this state better than I found it, so I appreciate this great work of Texan by nature. And I will tell you, Bank of America is clearly committed to Texas. This market in particular in North Texas has approximately 14,000 associates. It's the second biggest market for Bank of America. We have several technology folks here, and we're very committed to the state. So if you look at the state, we've already invested over $5.8 billion in financing for renewable energy. We've also made a commitment to renewable energy, and you may have seen that announced recently over the last year or so. So we've been working on that, and you'll continue to see that put into work. But to hyper-localize it, I just dropped off the phone with a colleague of mine working on our Plano facility. We not only have wind turbines there, but we also have solar panels going in at that location, so it's very exciting. And the way they've explained that to me is we will save so much energy that it equates to taking 801 cars off the road, so a big commitment. So operations and employees. I mentioned we have 213,000 employees in Bank of America, and we have a number of programs, too many to list today, to tell you about that support the efforts. In particular, electric vehicles, that's been something we've been supporting for quite some time. We also support the charging stations at their homes, solar, and a number of other efforts. But one thing in particular we're doing is behavioral change. We have challenges. In fact, I just left a call earlier today on gardening. It is part of our culture. And again, folks are instilling those values in their day-to-day experience with the bank and their home lives, but also bringing us new ideas. We also operationalize it. And the pandemic, as challenging as it was, expedited our movement to digital, as I'm sure it did for all of you. So we were already on that path, but it really expedited the work. And what our folks are finding as they come back to the office, and many more are, there are no printers. So think about an organization like ours. How much paper comes across the desk? What that meant was we expedited all those signatures everybody's used to doing. You can now do it on your iPhone. We're going to continue that work, and our folks have been overwhelmingly happy about that. It creates a better client experience. We like to say we're high tech, high touch, and that's working very well. But we'll continue that work, and it's each and every operational aspect of our business, and we'll continue to improve. It's also our water consumption as we look at our real estate. All of those decisions are made with the lens of sustainability in mind. So governance and policy, and I've heard this throughout the day, are so key in why I think what we're doing is working. It comes from the top down. This week you've seen Brian Moynihan all over the news. He is there personally because this is important. But what it also means is you have to have your policies in place that are very consistent with what you are trying to achieve. So we're very transparent and we're very thoughtful in all that we do. So if something is listed in our ESG framework and it conflicts with any other policy, objective, or goal, we will step back, take a look at that, and reevaluate. And we continue to improve. But it's very clear in our policies and our procedures and how we work together that those things are working. The next visual is one I know you are all very familiar with, and I just wanted to point it out because it does align the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We look at our sustainable finance through these goals and objectives and themes. So if you take a look at our numbers, and again, we're very transparent, I'm happy to share them with you all, you're gonna see those trends, the renewable energy, the sustainable food, agriculture. This is a view that we show our teammates on a regular basis, and of course externally to our investors and shareholders. But it's important that we frame everything again around the global views. We know we can't do all of this alone, so we're very much coordinated with others across the globe. And I added this slide. I didn't think I could go through today without talking about COP26, but again, a perfect example if you look at this. And we know this is a big moment in time. Brian Moynihan has been front and center in preparing for this and active now to help prepare the guide that's going to help the other banks and us do a better job as we work to net zero. But again, another example, and if you look on the slide at the bottom, you'll see a number of other partnerships, and those are not slowing down. So lastly, on this slide, is our performance status summary. You can access this on our website, and it is very detailed. So some of you may have very detailed questions today about a commitment we have made. Each commitment is within that document, and you can see our progress towards those goals. I'm pleased to say in many cases we have come through and exceeded that goal well ahead of target, and others we have work to do. But the process of making that transparent is incredibly important. People say, inspect what you expect. Well, I recently heard a speaker talk about that, and they said, inspect what you respect. And I think that's very telling. If you look at this and other data, it's something we truly respect and value. And that's why we'll hold ourselves accountable to meeting our goals. So in conclusion, I would just say it's in every part of our company. It's who we are. We're so pleased to be here today. We get a lot of global recognition, which is great, but we all love this great state of Texas, so it's great to see the recognition here. I would also say the work is not done. So I've met a number of you today, but if there's other programs, grants, things that we can support, we would love to learn more and be able to support that right here locally. So appreciate the time today. Thank you.